There was a time when I believed that if I worked hard enough, life would eventually become easier. I thought that if I stayed at the same company long enough, I accepted the pressure. I kept quiet when I was angry, if I worked late, when I was tired, if I continued to do things that I did not want to do. One day I would finally reach a place where I could breathe. And for a while I thought I had a job, had a stable income. I was able to buy a carnet, a luxury carnet, something that would make people turn around and look at me. It might was something much bigger than a carrot, was proof that after years of working, after years of trying to survive, had finally achieved something. Remember the feeling of driving that car home. Road was not special, traffic was not special, weather was not special, but I felt different. Because for the first time I felt that perhaps my life was moving forward. Perhaps all the years of pressure had finally meant something. Perhaps I could finally give my family a little more comfort, a little more safety, a little more hope. That life has a strange way of reminding you nothing is permanent, especially when you are an ordinary worker, and especially when you are living in a country that is changing faster than you can prepare for. Vietnam is developing extremely quickly. Factories are expanding. Technology is changing. Companies are constantly looking for ways to reduce costs. Markets are becoming smarter. Artificial intelligence is becoming more powerful, and businesses are becoming more competitive every year. From the outside of this kind of development looks beautiful. New roads, new factories, new buildings, new technology, more investment, more opportunities. But sometimes spend that progress there are ordinary people like me, people who are quietly wondering whether they will still have a job next year, next month, or even next week. Work for a Korean company, and I have worked under pressure for a long time. There are days when the work never seems to end. There are always targets, always deadlines, always problems, always something that needs to be fixed. And sometimes you work hard for an entire day only to be told that you did not work hard, and if you go home tired, but your mind does not stop you. Lie in bed, but you are still thinking about work. You wake up in the middle of the night, and the first thing you think about is not your family, it is not your child, it is not your own health. It is work. What will happen tomorrow? What will my manager say? Will my position still exist? Will the company continue to need me? I becoming too old? I becoming too expensive? I still valuable? These questions can slowly destroy a person, not all at once, but little by little, own day at a time. And after many years of swallowing my anger, after many years of accepting things I did not agree with, after many years of telling myself just endure a little longer, I finally reached a point where I could not continue in the same way. Decided to speak up, decided to confront my boss, not because I wanted to fight, not because I wanted to be disrespectful, because there comes a moment in life when remaining silent becomes more painful than speaking. I knew that after that conversation things might never be the same again, and honestly I am now seriously considering leaving my job. Maybe I will resign, maybe I will be forced to leave Maeve. The decision will not even be completely mine-bit for the first time. I am facing the possibility that I may soon become unemployed, and that thought scares me because I am not 25 anymore. I am approaching 40, and when you are young, losing a job is painful, but you can tell yourself you still have time. I can start again, can learn something new, can move to another city, can work for less money, can live with less bit. When you are approaching 40, fear is different. You start a skiing world. Will hire me, will a company choose someone younger, Simeon, cheaper Simeon, with more energy, Simeon, who has fewer responsibilities, who does not have a family depending on them, have parents who are getting older. They do not say much. They rarely ask me for money. That is how many parents in Vietnam are. They often try to hide their difficulties from their children, but I know they are getting older. Their bodies are not as strong as before, and one day they may need me more than they ever have. I cannot simply tell them I am sorry, have no money. I am unemployed, cannot help you, cannot think about my parents as a problem because they are not a problem. They are the people who spent their entire lives taking care of me. The truth is, love does not pay hospital bills. Love does not buy medicine. Love does not pay for food. And this is one of the most painful truths about adulthood. You can love your family deeply and still be terrified because you may not have enough money to protect them. My wife is a teacher, and teaching is one of the most important jobs in the world, but in Vietnam, teachers are not paid as much as people imagine. Me wife works hard, she spends her days with children, she prepares lessons, she deals with pressure, comes home tired, but her salary is still very low, and now our family is about to become even bigger. First child is beginning to prepare for school. That means new expensual fees, books, clothes, fifi and tories, costs money, and at the same time a second child is still in the womb. About 6 months into the pregnancy, there is another little life growing inside our familiar baby who has not yet seen the world. A baby who knows nothing about money, nothing about jobs, nothing about pressure, nothing about the fear that his father sometimes feels at night. But I know before that baby is born, there are many things we need to prepare a place to sleep, clothes, meal, expense for birth itself, and everything that comes after a newborn child does not need much to be happy, but a newborn child needs a family that can provide. And right now I am not sure what my future looks like. Sometimes I sit in my character finishing work. I do not start the engine immediately. I just sit there in silence looking through the windshield. The car I once bought as a symbol of success now sometimes feels like another responsibility. Our monthly expense ain't interesting. And when you have a job you can manage these things, but when you lose your income, every expense suddenly becomes heavier. The same car, same house, the same electricity bill, same food, same children, the same parents. Everything remains except the salary, and that is the terrifying part of losing a job. World does not stop. Because you become unemployed, supermarket still opens the electricity company. Still sends the bill, children still need to eat, your wife still needs to go to work, your parents still grow older, and your unborn child still continues to grow. Life keeps moving forward even when you are standing still. Sometimes I wonder, did I make a mistake by speaking up? Should I have continued to stay silent? Hold, I have continued to end as hold. I have simply lowered my head, worked harder, said nothing, and waited. Maybe that would be suffer. Maybe I would still have a job, but then I ask myself, how long can a person continue living like that? How many years can you spend sacrificing your healthier, tinier dignity, family life, just because you are afraid of what may happen tomorrow? I do not have the answer, and maybe that is the hardest thing. I am not telling this story because I have already solved my life. I have not. I am telling it because this is where I am right now, somewhere between the life I have built and the future. I am afraid of losing have a car, but I am afraid of losing my job. Have a family, but I am afraid I cannot protect them enough. Have experience, but I am afraid I am becoming too old for the job market. Have worked for many years, but I am afraid that everything could disappear very quickly. This is the strange contradiction of modern life. A person can look successful from the outside and still be terrified inside. May see someone driving a car, you may see a house, you may see a family, you may see a stable job, and think this person must be doing well, but you cannot see the thoughts inside their head. You cannot see the nights when they cannot sleep. You cannot see the fear of receiving a phone call from the company. You cannot see the calculations they make every month. If I lose my job, how many months can we survive? What expenses can we cut? What can we sell? Where can I find another job? Can I still support my parents? Can I pay for my children's education? Can I prepare for the birth of my second child? These are not dramatic questions from a movie. These are real questions that ordinary families ask themselves every day, and perhaps this is the part of Vietnam that many visitors never see. When people come to Vietnam, they see the food, beautiful landscape, busy streets, the motorcycles, new building, chef factory, as the rapid growth. And yes, Vietnam is changing. It is changing faster than ever, but behind every new factory there are workers. Behind every new building there are families. Behind every economic success story there are people who are working long hours trying to hold their lives together. Some of them are young, some of them are already approaching middle age, some of them are parents, some are taking care of elderly parents, some are carrying responsibilities that nobody can see, and I am one of them. I am just one ordinary Vietnamese man trying to continue moving forward even when I am not sure where the road is going. Maybe I will leave my job, maybe I will find another one, maybe I will have to start again, maybe I will have to accept a lower salary, maybe I will have to learn something completely new, maybe I will have to sell the car that I once felt so proud to own. I do not know, and honestly I am afraid, but there is one thing I have learned a person does not need to be fearless to continue. Vietnamese continue. While you are afraid, you wake up, you go to work, you take care of your family, you take your parents to the doctor, you prepare for your child to go to school, you wait for the birth of another child, and then you face tomorrow, not because you are strong, but because there is no other choice. This is what adulthood feels like for many people. You do not always have a plan sometimes. You are simply trying to survive the next month, next bill, next problem, next difficult conversation, and maybe that is not failure, maybe. This is what life really is, not always winning, yo, always moving forward, but simultaneously refusing to give up. I do not know what will happen to me after I leave my job, but I know that I cannot spend the rest of my life living in fear. I have spent too many years working too many years trying to be responsible, too many years believing that if I did everything correctly, life would guarantee me security, but life does not make guarantees. Companies change, economies change, technology change, people change, and the person you were yesterday is no longer enough for the world of tomorrow. So maybe now we have to change to maybe I have to begin again at almost 40, with parents growing older, with one child preparing for school, with another child still waiting to be born, with a wife who works hard for a salary that is not in our hand, with a future that is uncertain. I do not know whether I will succeed, but I know this: I cannot stop cows. There are people waiting for me at home, me parents, me wife, me children, and the little baby who has not yet opened his eyes to the world. On day that child may ask my dad, what were you doing before I was born? And perhaps I will tell him he was afraid. He was very afraid, but I kept going because that is what being a father means, not having all the answers, not always being strong, not always knowing what to do, you continuing to walk even when the road ahead is dark. This is not a story about a successful man. This is not a story about someone who has achieved everything. This is simply the story of an ordinary Vietnamese man who worked hard, who tried to build a life, who finally bought a car, who thought he had reached a little stability, and then suddenly found himself standing at the edge of uncertainty again. Perhaps this is the reality of modern life. You work so hard to build a better future, and Vietnamese future arrives before we are ready for it. Am still Harris, still working, still driving, still trying to support my family, still waiting for the birth of my second child, still worrying about my parents, still thinking about my first child's future, and still wondering what will happen when the job that I have depended on for so many years is no longer there. I do not know what tomorrow will bring, but tomorrow will come anyway, and when it does, he will have to face it just like millions of ordinary people around the world. People who are tired, people who are afraid, people who have no guarantee but still wake up every morning and keep going because somewhere is depending on the man that is enough reason to continue. Welcome to Inside Vietnam.